A typical day looks like this for me. I wake up, I go for a run, I take a shower, make breakfast, and then sit at my desk. I work until lunchtime, and then I take a break. On said break, I sit outside or I go for a walk. When I get back, I continue working until the end of the day. I wrap up the day by making some dinner, watching some YouTube videos or a movie, then I go to bed. It's pretty standard. There's nothing particularly interesting about it, and I wouldn't call it a bad day either. I've got some work done, I feel productive, and overall I feel like life is moving along well. However, from time to time when I'm having a day like this, depression just hits me. There's nothing to be sad or down about, but then I just feel an empty feeling. It's like a feeling of hopelessness. It's easy to be angry or down at a particular event or something happening, or if you're in a place that just makes you mad. It trains your focus on something, like if I change the circumstances or if I leave that bad environment that's causing these negative feelings, my mood can reset. But now, what do I do when nothing has caused this dip in my mood? I've learned that this is what having MDD is. I've been going to therapy for some time now and I've learned some ways to cope. But what most therapists don't tell you is that a lot of the time, these mechanisms aren't 100% foolproof. You can reality test your thoughts to no end, but ultimately you hit a wall. The wall of awful. All the little things accumulate and become larger problems than they actually are. So what do I do when this happens? I have some trouble answering this question actually. I find that the approach is different every single time. One day, one technique works and is completely useless the next. I'll give you an example. This week, I was feeling this dark cloud, as I call it, coming over me. I was working but decided to take the day off. I got into my car and started driving. Usually, driving just out of town makes me feel better. I get to be in touch with nature, and the autopilot of it serves as a kind of meditation. I was just about to get to the city limits when all of a sudden a wave of anxiety hit me. I had to take a deep breath. I started thinking dark thoughts, and I usually reserve these thoughts for bedtime. As these thoughts are racing through my mind, my autopilot deactivated. I was aware I was driving the car and it became a difficult task. The calming sensation I get from nature felt as though it was being overwritten on a computer by this new sensation of panic. Upon returning home, I felt worse than when I actually left. The rest of the day, I was slumped into bed pondering what had happened on that drive. How is it that something that used to give me so much comfort turned out to amplify the anxiety and slump me further into depression? I had two options at that moment. The first was to try and do something else to bring myself back, or the second, write off the day and hope something good gives tomorrow. Most people, when offering advice, would opt for option 1, but I decided to go with option 2. To be honest, it was probably the best thing that I could have done. In that instance, I realized my body needed to hit its natural dip. I've dealt with dips before. They present themselves differently. Sometimes I have to actively fight against the dip because it's trying to take me down and keep me down with no relief in sight. These are the dips that have actually driven me to hospitalization, suicidal ideation, and pretty much the worst that MDD has to offer. Then I have regular dips that just drop in to say hello. They just want to catch me slipping and ruin my day. But if I ignore them and keep my mind on the bigger picture, I tend to be alright. I ignored this dip, and the following morning I woke up feeling better. I wasn't crisp, don't get me wrong, but I did feel like a plane that had just experienced turbulence but was slowly weathering the storm. As far as the drive, it just so happened that on that day, it just wasn't the right approach. Those days happen. I'm going to keep it in my arsenal of things to do when I feel the dark cloud approaching again, because not for nothing, it's worked well before. The more techniques and mechanisms I have in the bag, the better. The point I'm trying to make is, when depression hits, those suffering the hardest have had it drummed into their minds that they have to take action, nip it in the bud, or remember all the techniques and coping mechanisms. It's not bad advice, but in a realistic world, constant resistance to the negative feelings we have, send them back to the gym, give them some steroids, and return them to us stronger to kick our asses into submission. Letting the feeling of anxiety and sadness wash over us is also easier said than done. What if this sadness is the real deal that will snowball into the hot mess if left unchecked? It's a possibility. In the 10 years since my diagnosis, I've learned to pay great attention to what it is I'm experiencing. I'm not perfect by all means, but keeping record of what I'm feeling, how I feel it coming on, and the hours, days, or weeks after the feeling have helped me to identify what level of panic I should be invoking. One overarching idea is when it hits, the first and best thing to do, in my opinion, is to realize that this experience is happening to me and not being caused by me. Believing that I'm at the cause of everything commences a blame game that takes my mind off the situation at hand. Patience with myself has also been the skill I have to say I'm most grateful for developing through my battle with MDD. A little goes a long way.